Tales by the Moonlight. Emudiate Deo Ogunsala. Dedication. Chapter 2. Series 1. The tortoise was a very greedy, selfish, cunning, and crafty animal. One day, the tortoise invited the ostrich to visit the king of the city with him. The ostrich accepted without thinking otherwise. He believed that the tortoise would not play any funny games again. The ostrich carried the tortoise on his back to the city. On their way, they came across a big river that had no bridge. The ostrich then told the tortoise to come down, since he could not carry him across the river. The tortoise pleaded, "I am afraid of the river. I cannot swim, and if I walk through the flowing river, I will just be swept away in a second. Please, please, my good friend, kindly assist me." The ostrich obliged, by carrying him through the flowing river. In the process, the ostrich's feathers were soaked in water, and he caught a cold which led to him sneezing continuously. After crossing the river successfully, the tortoise was told to come down, which he did reluctantly. This made the ostrich annoyed, and he remarked, "You are never a grateful person." On their arrival at the palace, they met the king with his chiefs and slaves, who welcomed them warmly. "You are very welcome to my palace," said the king of the city. The ostrich replied, "The great king, how majestic your palace is. You are indeed a powerful king, controlling a great kingdom." The king of the city was glad to hear all these praises. Meanwhile, Mr. Tortoise had earlier told the ostrich that when they got to the palace, he, Mr. Tortoise, would be called the visitor, while he, Mr. Ostrich, would be called the stranger. When the king of the city wanted to entertain his guests, he called his servant. "Gij, go and give food to our visitor." Then Gij called out, the visitor, the king said I should give you food." Mr. Tortoise answered and walked in majestically to receive the food, ate without giving his friend since he was the visitor and Mr. Ostrich was the stranger. The first day, the second day, and the third day passed with neither food nor water for the ostrich, while the tortoise was enjoying it. When the hunger got to a climax, Mr. Ostrich became extremely angry. He told the tortoise that he was fed up with his tricks and that he was leaving the palace for the forest. He went further and told the tortoise to his face, "You are not a good friend, and it is now that I know you very well. You are indeed a very greedy and selfish friend. I must leave for the forest now," said Mr. Ostrich. Do not go, the king is only testing you. He is going to give you some of his riches if you can be more patient," the tortoise pleaded. The king noticed that the ostrich was not happy, but he could not just think of the cause. He then invited Mr. Ostrich to find out what was making him unhappy, but the ostrich refused to talk. The king, however, invited Mr. Tortoise to his palace to find out the immediate and remote causes of Mr. Ostrich's pensive mood. The tortoise framed up a lie and said, "My friend saw the sharp differences between your palace and his forest house. He wished he could live in the palace, to serve as one of your chiefs." The king happily retorted, I see, I will be glad if your friend, the noble bird, could serve under me and continue to live in the palace as one of my chiefs." The tortoise suddenly became sad after he heard the intention of the king. He knew the importance of being a chief in the palace. He retorted, "The king would provide many good things to his new chief to be, and I must therefore thwart this plan." He planned to frustrate the king's efforts in making Mr. Ostrich a chief in the city. The tortoise left the palace with a lot of thoughts and many tricks. He told the ostrich, "If you accept to stay in the palace, one day, the king will sacrifice you to placate the gods." "Sacrifice me? How could the king do that to me?" Impossible, I have total confidence in the king, and I must see him immediately," the ostrich resolved.